I thought to start today with a meditation on the three principal aspects of the path. So I spoke about this last week, or last time, last time we met 2 weeks ago. And it said that this is essential as the basis, the foundation for the practice of Tantra or Vajrayana. It's essential to have a good understanding of these three principal aspects of the path, and not just an intellectual understanding, but try to really integrate them into our mind and into our life. And to be able to do that, ideally one needs to meditate on them again and again and again to get really, really familiar with them. So I thought just to do a short, kind of quick run through of these three and just try to deepen and expand our understanding of them and our experience of them. Okay, so sit up straight. Sit with your back straight. And have your body as relaxed as possible. So if you notice any tension anywhere in your body, see if you can let it go. You can imagine that it melts and flows out of you, drains out of you. You can imagine it sinking down into the earth beneath us. Or imagine that it just vanishes in space and floats away and disappears. So however you want to do it, let it go. Let it go out of you and vanish, disappear. And let your breathing be natural. Let your breath flow in and out in a natural rhythm. And don't control your breathing. There's no need to do that. Your body knows how to breathe on its own. So just allow your body to breathe naturally on its own. And then check to see if there are any thoughts in your mind that are not related to what we're doing here. They may be thoughts of the past, what you did earlier today or yesterday or any time in the past. So let go of those thoughts. The past is over, it's not here anymore. So put those thoughts aside. And there may be thoughts of the future, plans for what you're going to do tonight or tomorrow or any other time in the future. So the future isn't here yet. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So put those thoughts aside for now as well. And just let your mind be right here, right now, in the present moment and present place. And spend a few minutes being aware of the breath flowing in and flowing out. And any time your mind wanders away from the breath to some other object, just let go of that other object and bring your mind, your awareness back to the breath. And then if you're comfortable with the idea of generating a positive motivation for what we are doing here, you can take a few more moments to do that. You can bring into your mind some positive motivation that you've thought of in the past, or that you've heard explained by a teacher, or you could just simply think something like, I'm here to develop myself towards enlightenment so that I can make my life beneficial for others as much as I can, bring happiness and peace to myself and others, and help to relieve suffering and problems as much as I can. Something like that. But you can use your own ideas, your own words. So now I'm just going to mention a few points related to the three principal aspects of the path, and then give you some time to contemplate each point. So try to watch your mind, and if you notice your mind wandering away, thinking about something else other than this meditation, as soon as you notice that, let go of that other thought and bring your mind back to the meditation. So try to stay as focused and concentrated as you can. So the first of the three principal aspects of the path, that means the path to enlightenment, is sometimes it's called renunciation. Another term is the determination to be free. And this means the wish or determination to free ourselves from suffering and the causes of suffering. So we need to be aware of suffering, what is suffering, and the presence of suffering in our life. So you can just think of some examples of problems, difficulties, unpleasant experiences you've already had in your life, or that you might be experiencing right now, just to get a sense of the problems, the difficulties of ordinary existence. And then looking into the future, we might hope that things will get better and that we reach a state where we don't have problems anymore. But as long as we're in samsara, cyclic existence, unenlightened existence, then there will be problems in the future as well. Our bodies are getting older every day, every minute, every second. that makes us more susceptible to sickness, other kinds of physical problems. And then at some point, our life will come to an end. We'll die and leave everything behind. And generally, people don't look forward to that. We don't want to die, we want to live. But without choice, we do have to die. So these are just some of the things that will happen to us in the future. And as long as we're in samsara, after death will be another rebirth. We don't have any choice or control over where we are born, what will be the circumstances of our life, our experiences and so on. But again, as long as we're in samsara, there will be problems. Things are never perfect in samsara. Even if for a while we might not have too many problems, but sooner or later some other problem, new problem will pop up. That is just the nature of samsara. It's imperfect, it's unsatisfactory. There's no perfect peace and happiness to be found within samsara. And the real meaning of samsara, it's not a place, it's a situation where we still have delusions or afflictive emotions like greed, hatred, ignorance, pride, jealousy, and so on in our minds, and karma. So our minds are not free of delusions and karma. And it's the presence of these in our mind that causes us to meet with problems, suffering again and again and again. So this may sound depressing, hopeless, but it's not, because it's possible to be free. There is a state beyond samsara, a state of freedom, peace, a state of nirvana, liberation, in which there's no more suffering, no more karma, no more delusions, disturbing emotions, no more having to die and be reborn again and again, get sick, get old, pay taxes, and experience all the problems that we normally have. So such a state does exist. The Buddha attained it. Others have attained it. We can attain it too. So see if you can feel the wish, the aspiration to get out of samsara, which is like a prison, and reach the state of liberation, peace, nirvana. The second of the three principal aspects of the path is bodhicitta, or the mind of enlightenment. And this is basically extending that same attitude, the wish to be free of samsara, to all other living beings. So it's like we open up our mind, open up our heart, open up our eyes and our ears, look around and see that there's lots of other people and lots of other sentient beings who are also in samsara, this prison. And they want to be happy, just like we do. They don't want to suffer just like we do. So contemplate that for a few moments and see if it can open up your heart and feel how nice it would be if others could also have the happiness they wish for and could be free of the suffering that they don't want. It's hard to think of all sentient beings, but just think about the people here in this room, the people sitting around you. Just contemplate, just like me. They don't want to suffer, they don't want to have problems, and just like me, they want to be happy. How nice it would be if they could be happy and free of suffering. So bodhicitta means taking on oneself the responsibility to do just that, what we just thought about, what we just wished for. Is thinking, I will do whatever I can to help others, to have less suffering and problems, to have more peace and happiness. So I'm not going to shut them out, ignore them, and only take care of myself, but I want to help others too. I want to help others be free of suffering. I want to help others reach a state of peace and happiness. So see if you can generate that thought, that attitude in your mind. And then the actual way of helping others. We do as much as we can now, but the best way of helping others is by becoming enlightened, becoming a Buddha. So bodhicitta means deciding that I'm going to work for enlightenment. I'm going to achieve that state of enlightenment because that's the best way of helping others. Then I'll be able to help others in the best possible way and be able to work for them continuously as long as it takes until every last being has become free of suffering and become enlightened as well. So even though it's a long way off, we can at least start now to think of that as our goal, our long-term goal, enlightenment, Buddhahood, for the benefit of all beings. And then the third of the three principal aspects is the wisdom of emptiness, the wisdom realizing emptiness, the true nature of things. So this is essential because if we have the aspiration to achieve either nirvana for our own benefit, our own freedom from suffering, or enlightenment, Buddhahood, to be able to help others be free of suffering, either way, the actual means, the method for achieving liberation, nirvana, and achieving enlightenment involves understanding emptiness, the true nature of things. And this is because what keeps us in samsara, what prevents us from attaining nirvana and enlightenment, is ignorance. So this is a factor in our mind that clouds our mind, our perception of things, and causes us to see everything in a mistaken way, to see everything as if it has inherent or independent existence. So for example, we have a sense of I, me, myself, as being something real and solid, existing on its own without depending on anything else for its existence. It's like we feel this in the center of our heart, in the center of our being. There's a real me there. And when we're insulted, it gets upset, hurt, angry. When we're praised, it gets happy and excited and wants to hear more of that kind of information. So it lies behind our emotions, our ups and downs, our joys and sorrows, our attachments and aversions. But most of the time we never check to see if that I really does exist, if it's a real thing or not. We just assume that it is. So what the Buddha taught, he discovered himself, is that it doesn't really exist. It's just like a creation of the mind, a hallucination, a fantasy, a dream. It seems to be there, it seems to be real, but when we try to look for it, it cannot be found. It's absent. It's the meaning of emptiness. The absence of a real, solid, intrinsically or inherently or independently existing I. And the I that does exist, the relative, conventional I's, is just what is labeled, merely labeled, on top of our body and mind, our aggregates. So those exist, our body and mind exist, and then that set of aggregates, the body and mind, is labeled I or me or whatever your name is that your parents gave you or you gave you. So that's all there is. That's all the I that exists. It's just what is merely labeled in relation to our body and mind, our aggregates. The same is true for everyone else and everything else. So all other people and living beings, they are also just labeled, merely labeled in relation to their body and mind, their aggregates. And all material things, inanimate things, are also merely labeled. Car, for example. Car is just labeled. It's just a name, a label, car, given to a collection of parts of a car, none of which is a car. So that's how everything exists. It's merely labeled, merely imputed, merely named in relation to the parts that make it up. So thinking about this, meditating on this again and again and again, our mind finally breaks through to an actual realization, a direct realization of emptiness. We see how things are just labeled, not inherently existing. And that realization of emptiness is the main thing that eliminates ignorance and the other afflictive emotions, karma. It's all the things that keep us in samsara, all the things that cause our suffering, all the things that prevent us from attaining nirvana, liberating ourselves from suffering, and enlightenment, Buddhahood, so that we can help all other living beings be free of suffering as well. So whatever understandings or insights you got from doing that meditation, make the determination to not lose them or forget them, but keep them in your mind, develop them more and more, make them more strong and firm and stable, because this is how to free ourselves and others from suffering. And it's also the basis on which to engage in the practice of Tantra, Vajrayana, which is what we're looking at today.